Some folks on Twitter are asking me how I manage my ADHD and really short attention span. It's not perfect, but this is kind of what works for me, and it's been like 10 years of just figuring out what works. I've worked corporate jobs, and I dropped out of high school, and that was because my ADHD was so bad in those settings. But honestly, once I left the United States, my ADHD got a lot better. I was on Adderall before I moved here, but they don't have Adderall in Portugal, so I didn't ever go back on any stimulants or anything, and I've honestly been way better without it. But the only reason I think is just culture here is a lot slower. I'm not being tied to capitalism as much and hustle culture and all of that, so I can live a much slower life and be really present in the moment. Obviously, social media is really fucking distracting, and so about a year ago, I started putting timers on my apps. I don't use it anymore because I don't really need to, but so I would just give myself like 10 to 20 minutes on Twitter and Instagram a day, and this actually completely broke me of my habit of going on Instagram at all. I have the app, but I literally never open it. Twitter, on the other hand, I really struggled with Twitter. I would literally just sit in the notification area and just refresh it for no fucking reason. So when I started doing timers, I would override the timers and just be like, oh, 5 more minutes. That never goes well. So that got to a point where I was like, okay, this isn't working. So I uninstalled the app, and I literally have not had Twitter on my phone since. If I do use it on my phone, I'm only using the web browser version. It's more tasking to have to open it on Chrome, and it also functions like shit. So it kind of actively incentivizes me to not use Twitter, which is pretty great. I wanted to try to go back to what I did as a kid and just leave computer time as internet time. And, you know, when I'm not at the computer, I want to be present. I don't want to be sucked into something else, especially if I'm like actually out of the house. I want to be present. I want to know what's going on. It also is really helpful for me that online time is computer time, because my job is to be online and do art and, you know, have a presence or whatever. So I'm able to pretty easily separate my work now, but it didn't used to be that way. If you remove your social media and you find that you're just staring off into space or finding anything else to distract you, like I did, I found this to be a problem. I think general lifestyle changes can be really helpful, and the only reason I was able to do this is because of therapy and moving, I think. And also learning to have boundaries was a really big one too. I try to follow a routine, at least roughly. I usually wake up, shower, feed my cats, feed myself, and do any chores that I have for the day. My main goal is to just make sure that everything that I need to get done is done before I work. Because I know that if I leave even one chore unfinished and I go to work, I'm going to be thinking about it, and it's going to be really fucking distracting, and I'm going to feel guilty. So I just get everything out of the way, do it all up front, and then I can just sit down and focus. That's the hard part, right? I have learned that I have to have like kind of a sensory chamber of sorts. Sound and movement are my biggest distractions. So my boyfriend and I share a very, very small room. It functions as our office, our living room, and our bedroom. So we have a sofa that turns into our bed, and I have a desk area, and that's all we can really fit. I find that having my work area in my bedroom can be really hard. So what we did to try to separate the two and also help with distractions, we've got a like sound canceling curtain that hangs over our bunk bed. That the sofa bed is under the bunk bed. So there's just a curtain there, and I face away from the bed so I don't see anything, because one, if I see any sort of movement, you know, literally just like shifting in a chair or something, I immediately am pulled to it. But also seeing people relaxing in any way, I'm so easily persuadable. It's terrible. If I see somebody relaxing, then I want to relax too. So I just have to not know what's happening and I'll be okay. And the other really, really important thing for me is headphones. I have to have headphones. I just cannot focus without music. It's weird. I don't know. I have always listened to music while drawing. It's a really big inspiration for me too. But never videos, never podcasts. Those are for relaxation time because they're so distracting. I just will completely forget what I'm doing and just hone into a video or podcast. Oh, and also if I'm still struggling with focusing, there's two things that I find to be helpful, and I can kind of combine these two, which is nice. Practicing mindfulness and intentions, and also going for a walk. These are, I want to say a habit, but they're a loose habit that I kind of do as needed, you know? Mindfulness is a big part of my life now, and I really like to remind myself of why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I want to do this as my job, and what goals I have, and usually that's a daily goal. I usually just try to focus on just the day. Otherwise I get overwhelmed. So that might look like, what are things that'll help me be successful today, and what does that mean? What do I want to be successful at doing? Does that mean I want to go outside and I want to talk to somebody? Or does that mean I want to finish so many commissions in my queue? This tends to fluctuate because I don't do the same thing every single day, but this is also kind of more general, and I'm just like, I just want to be the best version of myself today. I want to keep myself in mind. I want to keep my family in mind. I want to make sure that I'm fed and taken care of, and you know, that I'm happy. That's important to being focused, honestly. Like, you just have to be in the right headspace, but it means you have to take care of yourself. And that's really hard to do, especially if you don't grow up already doing that. You have to learn all of these habits in your adulthood, and you've already got so much external input coming in that learning a new habit can be really difficult. So I'm thankful that over the past few years I've really been able to learn how to take care of myself, because God, I did not before. And I still, you know, struggle with that, of course. And the other thing, going on a walk. As an artist, when I go out, I just try to really focus on everything that is around me. The sounds, the visuals, the smells, but especially the visuals for me are a really big thing. So I try to think of like, how would I create the textures that I'm seeing right now? So like on a rock, how would I create that digitally? Or what color is a certain thing on a color wheel? And that is really challenging for me. Like, I really struggle to imagine what color something is digitally. So that's a good challenge for me. This just kind of gets me in the mindset to think about art and work on art, and also apply these things to what I currently have in my queue. It helps keep things interesting, and I don't tend to lose interest this way. It's just a matter of keeping yourself in mind and paying attention to what does and doesn't work. Hope it helps.